Good morning. This is the video that you're going to be using for math as well as for science. Just like we did yesterday, this is the Smarter Balance Test Prep, and we're going to be going through these items. Today, the focus is going to be on expressions and equation. To get started, we're going to begin with problem of the day. And yesterday, when we were going over some of the items for number sense, quite a few of you confused least common multiple and greatest common factor. So this is going to become our problem of the day for today. I want you to record everything you see here for this example, and then write down 20 and 15. This is the one that you're going to find on your own. We're going to talk about the steps I used for this one. Okay, so write down 20 and 15, and then everything you see here. Write this down. You have 1 minute. Go. Okay, you should have this part written down. So I'm looking at 45 and 120, and I'm writing it side by side. We're using the step down or the double ladder method. That's the way they referred to it in Swan Math when we did this. I'm going to take the smallest prime number that is divisible by 45 and 120. So 3 would go into 45 15 times. 3 would go into 120 40 times. I am now going to look at 15 and 40, and I want the smallest prime number to go into 15 and 40. And the smallest prime number this time is going to be 5. 5 goes into 15 3 times. 5 goes into 40 8 times. Once I can no longer pull out prime factors, I'm going to multiply the prime factors that are the numbers that I pulled out, because 8 is not prime. My prime factors are on the side, and my remaining numbers are across the bottom. So I'm going to multiply 3 times 5 times 3 times 8. And altogether, that's 360. So your least common multiple is 360. Now, you're going to work on 20 and 15. You can use the step-down method like this, or you can write out the multiples of 20 and write out the multiples of 15. That is your choice. Pause the video here for 1 minute, 30 seconds. You can either work alone or you can work with the person next to you. And what I want you to keep in mind is you do not decide to change your seat. If you do not have a partner sitting next to you, the substitute will tell you where you can move. You do not make that determination yourself. So if you have already gotten out of your seat to go sit by someone else, go back to your seat and wait for directions. 1 minute and 30 seconds, finding the least common multiple of 20 and 15. Go. Okay, so I'm going to use the step-down method again. And I'm going to look at 20 and 15. And the smallest prime number that will go into 20 and 15 is 5. 5 goes into 20 4 times. 5 goes into 15 3 times. Now I look at 4 and 3. There is no prime number that goes into 4 and 3 evenly. Remember, 1 is not prime. So I'm going to multiply 5 times 4 times 3. 5 times 4 is 20. 20 times 3 is 60. And 60 is the least common multiple. You could have also written out the multiples of 20 and written out the multiples of 50 and circle the first multiple that they both share. It would still be 60. Good. Now, our first item. On your paper, you need to make sure that you're, 1, numbering the items, and 2, that you're writing product and process, not only showing how you got your answer, but explaining why. So for this first one, I have 11 times z equals 121. And you are asked to enter the value of z that makes the given equation true. So pause the video here, take 1 minute and 30 seconds, and work this out. Find the value for z. Go. Okay, so I'm going to rewrite my expression. 11 times z equals 121. And I'm going to solve this equation using inverse operations. The inverse of multiplication is division. I want to isolate the variable, so I'm going to divide by 11. I'm undoing multiplication. 11 goes into 11 one time, so you have 1z. Remember, that's an invisible 1. When we first talked about this, we said mathematicians do not believe in writing the number 1 in front of the z. So there's that invisible 1 there. So you have 1z, 11 goes into 121 11 times. Well, once you get an answer, don't be content with that answer. If in fact this is telling you that z equals 11, plug it back in to your equation. 11 times 11 equals 121. Well, 11 times 11 is 121. So 121 equals 121. Now, on the actual Smarter Balance test, when you see an equation editor or you see a number pad like this, do not use the numbers on your computer to type this in. Otherwise, it may not register correctly. Type in or hit the numbers on this number pad that they provide for you to make sure that you're recording the information correctly. So now, on to the next one. Consider the inequality 12 is less than x. We had some inequalities yesterday. And all an inequality means is one side is greater than or less than the other side. Now, on your paper, I don't want you copying this chart and taking time to make this chart. I want you to label A, B, C, D, E. And then you're going to put either yes or no by your items here. Okay? And you're comparing these values to this inequality statement. You're taking out the x, you're replacing it with the values you have here. Evaluate each of them individually. Do not rush through this. So pause the video here. Take 2 minutes to work through each of the items and decide, is it a true statement that 12 is less than the value of these numbers here, or is it not? And you're going to check either yes or no. Or on your paper, you're going to write either yes or no. So 2 minutes, pause the video and check back in at the end of 2 minutes. Go. So I'm looking at 12, and 12 is less than negative 40. Well, on a number line, I have 0 here. 12 is to the right. Negative 40 is to the left. Numbers on a number line to the left of 0 have lesser value than numbers on the right-hand side. So is this a true statement? No, it is not. 12 is less than 0. Well, again, looking at a number line, here's 0. There's 12. 0 is to the left of 12. No, that is not a true statement. Negative 5. 12 is less than negative 5. Is that a true statement? No, it is not. Again, negative 5 is to the left of 0. 13. 12 is less than 13. Here's 12. 13 would be to the right. Yes, 12 is less than 13. 12 is less than 21. Yes, that is also a true statement. Okay, so moving on to our next item. Enter the value of 42 divided by parentheses 2 plus 5 parentheses times 3. This is order of operations. When we did order of operations earlier in the year, we used GEMS to help us figure out what goes first, what goes second, what goes next. So take a look at this expression. Use order of operations, GEMS, groupings, exponents, multiplication, division, left to right, subtraction, addition, left to right, and come up with the value for this expression. Take 2 minutes, pause the video here, check back in at the end of 2 minutes. Remember, product and process. Go. Okay, so I'm looking at my expression here, and I see parentheses. I know that that's groupings, and I have to take care of the groupings first. So I'm going to bring down 42 divided by 2 plus 5 is 7 times 3. Now, I'm looking at division and multiplication. Well, I have multiplication here, so does that mean I have to multiply first? No, because the M stands for multiplication, division, left to right, whichever comes first. Left to right, division comes first. 42 divided by 7 is 6. I bring down multiplication and the 3. And this is all I have left. 6 times 3 is 18. So I have simplified this expression. Using GEMS, my answer is 18. Again, remember, when you have a number pad like this, when you're taking the Smarter Balance test, do not type in using your numbers on your keyboard because it may not register correctly. Hit the numbers for 1 and 8 to type in your answer here. And on to the next one. Enter the value of x that makes the given equation true. I have some number plus 7 1/3 equals 18 2/3. Well, we had a couple of examples yesterday using fractions or mixed numbers where you had an unknown and you had to figure out the value for that unknown. This is the same thing. Your operation today is addition. So you're going to decide how you can find the value that would make this equation true. Pause the video here. Take 3 minutes. Remember, you're doing product and process. You're explaining your thinking and why you did what you did. If all you're doing is the product, you only have half credit. So 3 minutes, pause here and check back in at the end of 3 minutes. Go. Okay, so I'm looking at some number plus 7 1/3 equals 18 2/3. Well, the first thing I notice is my denominators are the same. And if I am adding some number plus 7 1/3, and I want to know what that some number is, I can subtract from my sum. Use inverse operation. If this is addition, I can use subtraction. I'm going to subtract my numerators. 2 subtract 1 is 1. My denominator remains the same. 8 subtract 7 is 1. And I have 1 left here. I bring that down. 11 1/3 is my answer. Again, don't be content with, that's my answer, I'm going to put it in, I'm done. Plug it back in. If your equation does not work with this value that you determined, you did something wrong. And that's how you check your work. So I'm going to plug this back in. So I'm going to look at 11 plus 7 is 18. I'm adding my numerators. 1 plus 1 is 2. My denominator stays the same. 18 2/3, and that's exactly what I had in my original equation. So I know that my answer is correct. Now, in this equation editor, when you're putting in your fractions, you need to use the fraction box and then type in your numerator, type in your denominator. If you type your answer like this, 1/3, the computer does not recognize what you just put in, and the whole thing is marked wrong. So make sure you use your fraction box. And on to the next one. And we have another inequality. Select all of the sets of numbers that are possible values for x in this inequality. This time it's x is greater than -2. Well, again, if it helps for you to make a number line, do that. Okay, here's -2. And I'm comparing everything to the -2. You also need to evaluate all of the items in each set. All of the values in that set must make this a true statement for that set to be correct. On your paper, you're going to write each of the 4 sets. Okay, write one under the other. Do not put them side by side. Write them vertically, because then you're going to indicate either, yes, this is true, or no, it is not. Or actually, you just need to select all of the ones that make it true. So you don't have to say no, but you do need to indicate the ones that are correct. So take 3 minutes, pause the video here. You're writing all 3 sets, and you're going to put a check mark if it's correct, or leave it alone if it's not. And product and process. Explain how you know your answers are correct. And 3 minutes, pause here, and check back in at the end. Go. Okay, so I'm looking at x is greater than -2. Well, here's -2. My first value in this set is -1. Okay, -1 is to the right of -2. And -1 is closer to 0. So yeah, this is a true statement. 0 is greater than -2. 0 is to the right of -2. That's correct. 5 is greater than -2. Well, 5 is to the right of -2. So all of those are correct. Now, I'm going to look at my next set. And the first thing I notice is all of my numbers are positive. Well, if they're all positive, they're all to the right of 0. And so, yeah, all of those numbers work. So now I'm going to look at my next set. -2 is greater than -2. Well, no, it's not. It's the same number. If just one of these items is not correct, the whole set is wrong. So now I'm going to look at my last set. -6. Well, -6 would be here. -6 is to the left of -2. -6 is greater than -2. No, it's not. -4 is greater than -2. Well, no, -4 is to the left of -2. So that's not correct. -2 is greater than -2. No, they're the same. So that set is not correct. So your only two that are correct choices are your first and your second set. Moving on to the next one. Again, we have select all of the expressions that are equivalent to 4 times 2 times x plus y plus 2 times y, and then close parentheses. Well, I'm looking at this here, and I know that this is the distributive property. And this is telling me that I'm going to distribute 4 to each of these terms here. And then you need to determine which one of these are equivalent to this expression. So pause the video here. Take 3 minutes. Remember, you're using the distributive property. So you need to explain what you're doing when you distribute and then determine which one of these expressions are equivalent. You're going to write A, B, C, D, and you are only going to record the expressions that are true. So if you think this one and this one are true, after you work this out, that's what you're going to write down. So you will have one or more of your A, B, C, D that won't have anything written by it. So pause the video here, 3 minutes, work it out, determine what are the equivalent expressions. Go. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is distribute 4 times 2x plus 4 times y plus 4 times 2y. I'm distributing the 4 to all of my terms in the parentheses. 4 times 2 is 8. So I have 8x plus 4 times y is 4y plus 4 times 2 is 8y. So now I'm looking at my expressions and I realize I can combine like terms. Well, I have a coefficient of 8 and another coefficient of 8. Could I combine those 8s together? Well, when we did expressions and equations, did we combine coefficients or did we look at variables? And if you said look at the variables, you're correct. This is 8 times x, this is 8 times y. The variable is not the same. I cannot combine those. So I'm just going to bring down 8 times x. But I do notice y, and y. Coefficient of 4, coefficient of 8. But the variable is the same, so I can add my coefficients. 4 plus 8 is 12 times y. So I'm going to look to see, and sure enough, that one is equivalent to this expression here. So is there another one that I can say is equivalent? Well, if I don't combine my like terms, I have 8x plus 4y plus 8y. And this is also equivalent. These two are not. These are wrong. Okay? So you have A and D that are correct. On to the next one. This is similar. Select all of the expressions. Again, notice you have checkboxes. That means there's more than one correct answer. That are equivalent to 2 times k plus 2 plus k plus 3 plus 2 times k. And you are not having to distribute anything, but you do need to decide which of these are correct. So again, you're going to label A, B, C, D. And you're going to decide which one of these expressions are equivalent to this one here. Take 2 minutes, pause the video here, check back in at the end of 2 minutes. Go. Okay, so again, I'm going to take a look at my variables. I have a k, I have a k, and I have another k. I have a coefficient of 2, a coefficient of 1, and a coefficient of 2. 2 plus 1 is 3, plus 2 is 5 times k. And I'm going to cross these out as I combine them. And I'm left with a constant of 2 and 3. Well, I can add 2 plus 3. They don't have any variables, so I can combine those. 2 plus 3 is 5. And sure enough, there is one equivalent expression. It said select all. So 5 times k to the 5th power. Well, I'm not multiplying the k's. I'm adding them, so I'm not raising them to a power. And 5 plus k to the 5th power. Again, I'm not multiplying the k's. That is not true. But I'm looking at 5 times k plus 5. And I'm thinking, would this be the same thing as this? Well, if I pull out the factor 5, I'm left with k plus 1. But is this the same thing as this? This is the distributive property. So 5 times k is 5k plus 5 times 1 is 5. And sure enough, it is the same thing. So this one also is a true statement. Okay. On to the next one. Another inequality. X is less than 1. And determine whether each value of x makes the inequality true. Select yes or no for each value. You're going to write A, B, C, D, E on your paper for the product side. And you're going to write either yes or no by each of your options here, A, B, C, D, and E. When you have check boxes and it says select yes or no for each value, that means you need to have something checked in each row of boxes. You cannot leave any row with no box checked. You either check one or the other. And you're going to take your value in this column and you're going to compare it to your inequality. Remove the X, replace the value. Is it a true statement? You have 5 values to take a look at and decide if it is or it is not a correct value to make the inequality true. Take 2 minutes, pause the video here, work with your partner or work alone. Go. Okay, so I have negative 5/8. Negative 5/8 is less than 1. Well, again, if I have a number line, here's 1. Negative 5/8 would be to the left of 1. So that is a true statement. Negative 5/8 is less than 1. 1/7 is less than 1. Well, 1/7 would be here. 1/7 is to the left of 1. That's a true statement. Negative 7/2. Well, I know I cannot leave that as an improper fraction. 2 goes into 7 3 times, and 1 remaining. 3 1/2. However, it's negative 3 1/2. And that's going to be to the left of 1. So that is also a true statement. 3/2. Well, 2 goes into 3 1 time and 1 left over. 1 1/2. 1 1/2 is less than 1. Well, 1 1/2 is to the right, so that is not a true statement. 13/6. Well, 6 goes into 13 2 times and 1 left over. 2 1/6. This is not a negative value. 2 1/6 is going to be to the right of 1. So that is not a true statement. Good. Now, on to the next one. Another inequality. So look at all the sets of numbers and select all of the sets that are possible values for x in this inequality. X is less than negative 3. Again, you're going to label this A, B, C, and D. And you are only going to record the sets that are correct for this inequality. Pause the video here, take 2 minutes, and go. Okay, so let's go and check. And again, I'm going to compare each of the values in the set to see if it's a true statement. Okay? And I have my number line here for comparison. And I have negative 3. That's what I'm comparing it to. X is less than negative 3. If that's a true statement, it would have to be to the left of negative 3. And I have 5. 5 is to the right. Okay? And remember, if just one of your answers is not true, the whole set is not true. So now I notice I have 3 negative numbers, but they all have to be less than negative 3. So I have negative 5. Negative 5 is to the left, so that one is true. Negative 7 is to the left. That's true. Negative 9 is to the left of negative 3. That's true. So that is a correct statement. Now, I notice I've got 3 more negative numbers, and they're all much larger then -3. So they're going to be further on to the left. So all of these are true statements. Now I'm looking at D. -5 is less than -3. Can I check this one? Well, with the first value, it looks good. But, well, then I've got 0 and 5. 0 is to the right of -3. All you need is one item in that set that is not a true statement, and the whole set is wrong. So the only two sets that are correct are the second set and the third set. On to the next one. Sebastian's lemonade recipe uses 4 cups of water and 1 cup of lemon concentrate. Enter the percentage of the lemonade recipe that is lemon concentrate. So when we first started looking at percentage problems, we used tape diagrams to find the percentage amount. We've also used the is-of structure. So pause the video here and work with your partner to decide which approach will be correct and what your answer should be. Take 3 minutes. Check back in at the end of 3 minutes. Go. Okay, so I'm going to draw a tape diagram for this one. And remember when we had our tape diagram, we put the full amount here and then decided what we needed. So this is 100% is what we're looking for. And I have 4 cups of water, 1 cup of lemon concentrate. Altogether, I have 5 cups. So I'm going to divide my tape diagram into 5 sections. And I have 4 cups of water. And I have 1 cup of lemon concentrate. And I want to know the percentage that is lemon concentrate. Well, if altogether this is 100%, what is the value for each of these sections? And if I have a total of 5, then this would be 20%, 20%, 20%, 20%, 20%. 20, 40, 60, 80, 100. But I'm only interested in the lemon concentrate, and that would be 20%. Again, when you're using your number pad, you want to type in the numbers using this number pad, not the numbers on your computer. Okay? And on to the next one. Carmen's mom drives the same distance each day to take Carmen to school, as shown in the table. Let D represent the number of school days. Let M represent the total distance traveled in miles. At the end of 6 school days, well, I'm noticing this only goes to 4. So when you're working this out, you need to figure out what, if you extend this pattern, what 6 days would look like. Okay, so pause the video here, take 2 minutes, discuss it with your partner. Remember the process, you're explaining what you did to find the answer, and check back in at the end of 2 minutes. Pause here and go. Okay, well, I'm going to make a T-chart. I'm going to put D for days, M for miles. And I'm noticing that one day I go 7 miles, 2 days, 14 miles, 3 days, 21 miles. Well, I'm increasing by 7 each time. 4 days, 28 miles. I want to get to 6 days. Well, 5 days would be 35 miles, and 6 days would be 42 miles. So you can do your T-chart, or once you realize that your pattern is increased by 7, you could multiply 7 times 6 and get 42. Okay? I think you did have a keypad on this one. I just did not include it. So again, if there's a keypad or a number pad, remember to use that to type in your answer. On to the next one. Jake reads for 20 minutes after school. He reads X more minutes after dinner. Write an equation that represents the total number of minutes Y that Jake reads, or that Jake read. So you have a word problem and you need to enter an equation. That means you're going to need to type out an equation, translate from English to math. Okay? And notice you have an X and a Y variable. So when you write your equation. So pause the video here. Take 2 minutes. Decide how you're going to write that equation. And just write your equation on your paper with the explanation of how you figured it out. Check back in 2 minutes. So I'm looking at, he read for 20 minutes, and then he reads X more. X more means I'm going to be adding. Enter an equation that represents the total number of minutes Y that Jack read. So I'm going to take the information I have here and translate it to algebra. 20, that's what he started with, plus, I don't know what the additional minutes are, plus X. I want the total number of minutes equals, and it tells you Y is the total number of minutes. You have now just translated from English to algebra. They're not asking you to solve it. They're asking you to write an equation that represents the total number of minutes Y. Well, here's the information, 20 plus X. And there you go. On to the next one. Natalie and Jonathan are asked to write an expression equivalent to 2 times X plus 2 times Y. Natalie writes the expression 4 times X plus 4 times Y. Jonathan writes the expression 8 times X times Y. Who is correct and why? So pause the video here and decide which one is correct. Is it A, B, C, or D? And in your process, you're going to explain your thinking. Pause the video here, discuss which is correct, and go. Okay, so let's check and see how you did. Well, I'm going to go back to the distributive property. And I'm going to let this help me find the answer. 2 times x, 2 times 2x. 2 times 2 is 4. I'm not going to rewrite it. 2 times 2x is 4x, plus 2 times 2y is 4y. And then I'm going to look to see, do I have an answer that reflects 4 times x plus 4 times y? And I have this right here. So why would this one not be correct? Okay, if this is saying 2 times 2x, and I have this answer and this answer, which one, when you're looking at this equivalent expression, is going to be correct? Either Natalie or Jonathan. And there is only one correct answer that you're going to have. This one reflects what you have here. Okay, so your first one, A, would be correct. And let's go to the next item. A classroom fish tank contains X goldfish. The tank contains 4 times as many guppies as goldfish. Enter an equation that represents the total number of guppies Y in the fish tank. Again, they're asking you to translate from English to algebra, and they want an equation. And I'm noticing that there's an X and a Y variable included. So you're going to be using your equation editor when you type in your equation. Pause the video here. Take 2 minutes to decide how are you going to translate this statement to write an equation that represents a fish tank with X goldfish and 4 times as many guppies as goldfish. Okay, 2 minutes, go. Okay, so I'm going to look at, there's X goldfish and there's 4 times as many guppies. So I have 4 times X. And I want an equation that's going to represent the total number of guppies, Y. 4 times X equals Y. If you wrote Y equals 4 times X, same thing. And on to the next one. Now, the amount Millie earns based on the hours she babysits is shown in the graph. Let H represent the number of hours Millie babysits. Let M represent the amount of money earned in dollars. So when she babysits 1 hour, she earns $10. When she babysits 2 hours, she earns $20. When she babysits 3 hours, she earns $30. Enter the total amount of money Millie earns when she babysits for 6 hours at the same rate. So if you were to continue this graph, or if you're looking for your unit rate, determine how much money she's going to earn if she babysits for 6 hours. Take 1 minute and 30 seconds. Discuss this with your partner, and then write your product and process. Go. Okay, so again, I could do a T-chart, and I could do hours and money. Okay, 1 hour and $10, 2 hours and $20, 3 hours and $30. So my unit rate is $10 per hour. So if I'm looking at how much is she going to earn for 6 hours, 6 times 10 is 60. So you could do a T-chart, or you could extend this out to 6. And you notice that each time you add another hour, you're going up 10 more. Either way, you're going to end up with $60 for 6 hours. Anne predicts that the amount of rain that falls this year will change by exactly 20% as compared to last year. Last year, it rained 50 inches. Select all the correct amounts if her prediction is true. So it will change by exactly 20%. Last year, it rained 50 inches. Pause the video here. Take 3 minutes to decide, and notice there are check boxes. So select all the correct amounts. If it's changing, make sure you're considering all the options of how it can change. Okay, so pause the video here, and you're going to check back in 3 minutes. Go. Okay, so let's check and see how you did on this one. Another way to think of this is, what number is 20% of 50? So we can use is of. What number is 20% of 50? Okay, so when I cross multiply, I have 100 times n, and 20 times 50. Okay, 2 times 5 is 10, and then I'm going to write 2 more zeros. I'm going to divide by 100. I'm going to divide by 100. And n equals 10. However, how will it change compared to last year? Well, last year it rained 50 inches. It could change one of 2 ways. It could go up by 10, or it could go down by 10. So if it goes up, I'm going to have 60 inches. If it decreases by 10, I'm going to have 40 inches. select all the correct amounts that make her prediction true. So it could be 60 if it increases by 20%, or it could be 40 if it decreases by 20%. Those are my two options. It's going to change either by going up or by going down. So this one you had to really think about all the correct answers that it would be. Okay? Hopefully you did well on all of these